I'd like to let you know I have a new book out, the first book I've published in 5 years. It's called They Came for Blood. I have always wanted to write Westerns, a dream since my childhood. Tom Callahan was once president, Ulysses S. Grant's deadliest kept secret, a lethal gun for hire leading a team of assassins nobody knew existed. Now those days are over, or so he thought. Therefore, when the past comes for blood, you either draw first or die trying. Look for They Came for Blood on Amazon.com or anywhere books are sold. Check it out. There's a lot of murder in the book, so it's not a departure from my day job. A 3-year-old is found wandering through a parking lot one day, holding on to her favorite pillow. Her feet are covered in blood, and her mother is missing. My name is M. William Phelps. I'm an investigative journalist and the New York Times best-selling author of dozens of true crime books. I've dedicated the past 26 years of my life to helping families of the missing and murdered. Join me. We're crossing the line. The morning of June 9th, 2016, along Newcastle Avenue, just off South Sherwood Forest Boulevard in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was intensely hot and humid, as it often is in Baton Rouge as summer approaches. Baton Rouge is a beautiful city set to the west of the mighty Mississippi, which kind of snakes through town like a garden hose on a lawn. And I understand that some may call it Baton Rouge, but I'm going to say Baton Rouge. On this particular morning, Leslie Parms is leaving the parking lot there on Newcastle Avenue, and he sees a toddler who is standing near the parking lot entrance, wandering around aimlessly. The child is grasping at a pillow and appears to be lost and scared. Leslie stops his vehicle, gets out, walks up to the child. After taking a look around and not seeing an adult anywhere nearby, he asks the child, "Where is your mommy?" The child just stares at him. "Is your mommy around?" Leslie asks again. He guesses the child is no more than 3 years old. When the child won't answer, Leslie dials 911. The 911 dispatcher tells Leslie to continue talking to the child, and she will stay on the line with him until police arrive. As he looks closer at the child, who is not wearing any shoes, Leslie can see dried blood on the child's feet. The situation, I think we can agree, seems to be getting worse as each moment passes. "Do you know where Mommy's car is?" Leslie asks the child. The child begins walking, leading Leslie over to a blue Toyota Corolla parked not too far from where they are standing. Leslie looks inside the car. More blood on the front seat, and what an affidavit describes as, quote, "a sizable amount all over the backseat." The child then says something odd. "A particular person," she says, "did that blood." "Where is your mommy?" Leslie asks again. By now, he can hear sirens off in the distance. Police are almost there. "My mommy was going to sleep with that person," the child says. We hardly think of this while we are going about the normal course of a day. And yet, at any time, on any given day, a situation can present itself that will change us in ways we could have never imagined. Here is a man leaving for his day, heading out, and, oh my goodness, he is now involved in a situation which seems to be heading towards a horrible outcome. Just like that, you are thrust into the lives of people you would have otherwise never been in contact with, save for this 3-year-old with bloody feet out in a parking lot, wandering around alone, clutching her favorite pillow. Police arrive, along with a detective from the Special Victims Unit, which investigates child abuse and child matters, in addition to a homicide detective. Of course, they run a check on the license plate tags and find out that the vehicle is registered to a woman by the name of Lyntell Washington, a local teacher at the Brookstone Middle Magnet Academy. Lyntell is 40 years old, a beautiful woman with light brown freckles and long, straight, dark brown hair. Lyntell had been named the 2014-2015 Baton Rouge Teacher of the Year. Students love Miss Washington, and her friends and family speak of Lyntell in the most loving and caring of ways. She lives to teach. She has what family describes as a warm heart with an absolute commitment to her students. This wonderful woman, however, adored by the entire Baton Rouge community and beloved by the parents of her students, is nowhere to be found. And her 3-year-old, it appears, has been left alone in the parking lot where she and her mother apparently live. Lyntell's family and friends know she would never, ever abandon her child like this. For this to have occurred, it can only mean that something has happened to Lyntell. Detectives get hold of the assistant principal at the school where Lyntell works. She is a great friend to Lyntell and says she'll be right over. When she arrives, the first thing the assistant principal sees is a swarm of police officers surrounding Lyntell's car. Yes, she lives in this apartment, the assistant principal explains to police. The woman agrees to take the child until her mother can be located. So that much is taken care of. They ask a few questions about Lyntell to maybe find out where she could be, with whom she could be with, or possibly what could have happened. There is something, the assistant principal tells police, that they need to know. Lyntell is pregnant, about 6 months. And just the other day, Lyntell had sent her a text message she'd just gotten from the baby's father, which had greatly upset her. He was obviously trying to escape responsibility of the child, the assistant principal explains. She told me she and the baby's father were going to be getting together to discuss the situation. There's something else about the baby's father, she adds. He's married. So Lyntell was effectively having an affair with a married man who had gotten her pregnant, and he is trying to worm his way out of taking care of the baby after it is born. Investigators kind of look at each other. It's no secret what this could mean. The assistant principal then says that Lyntell was threatening the guy, telling him she was going to go to his wife and tell her everything if he didn't step up and take responsibility. They ask his name. He's a coworker, the assistant principal says. He is also an assistant principal at the school. What a sordid mess of a situation. An assistant principal, married, has an affair with one of his teachers, gets her pregnant, now there's blood in her car, on her child's feet, and she is missing. What do we like to say here on Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps? Often enough. Right. 2 + 2 always equals 4. Is he at the school now? Detectives ask her. No, neither he nor Lyntell showed up today. So they are both missing. Great. Detectives know that urgency is needed. Lyntell is either badly hurt somewhere, and they assume this because of all the blood in her car. Or she and her unborn child are dead. Based on statistics, which in a case like this, you'd have to rely on as a tool within your investigation, the number one cause of death among pregnant women is not childbirth or complications. It's murder. And obviously, the number one suspect in those cases is the father of the child. We've been over this plenty of times on the show. I have covered several cases where the father of a child would rather kill the mother and his child than face up to his responsibility of fathering the child. It's sickening and weak and cowardly, but that is the world we live in. What can I say? All that being said, you had better have hard proof if you are about to go accusing the assistant principal at a prestigious school of murder when A, you do not have a body, and B, you have absolutely zero evidence against the guy, save for a hunch and some statistics. The one bit of evidence they do have is several testimonials from friends and coworkers that a guy by the name of Robert Marks did have Lyntell's child, that 3-year-old, with him on that previous day. So after it is discussed with the proper legal authorities monitoring the situation for the Baton Rouge police, they agree to arrest Marks on charges related to abandoning the 3-year-old child, essentially leaving her in the parking lot of the apartment complex. Again, they have no solid proof of this, but the witness statements are enough to at least grab the guy and hold him for a while. They know the charges will not stick, but it is enough to get him inside a police station interrogation room and begin asking him about Lyntell and the last time he saw her. Not long after this, they obtain information that perhaps they should be looking in a local basin, a swamp west of Baton Rouge, which happens to be the largest swampy wetland in the United States. So good luck with that search. They spend the entire following day, Friday, June 10th, searching the basin. But as the sun begins to set, they gather everyone together and call it off. It's just no use. To search a great basin when you're surrounded by swampy wetlands, it could be disastrous and dangerous, and the chances of finding anything are very low. From there, the search heads north into the towns of Baker and St. Francisville. Remember, they arrest the assistant principal on those child abandonment charges on that Friday. And the first thing they do, of course, is get hold of his cell phone and begin to look at his movements over the past 24 hours, which is how they wound up in that swamp and then in Baker and St. Francisville. That signal they focus on in Baker and St. Francisville from Mark's phone was active from Wednesday of that week until that Friday morning when the child was found wandering around. As they interview Assistant Principal Marks, he says he has no idea where Lyntell is. How should I know? They press him. Come on, dude. We have people saying you were with her and the 3-year-old, and you two were having an affair. Marks thinks about it. He knows they got him. "I think I need an attorney now," he says. Well, of course he does. Let's take a break, come back, and get into the search for beloved schoolteacher and instructional specialist at Brookstone Middle School, Lyntell, Washington. You are listening to Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps, a true crime podcast. The Child's Advocacy Center, or CAC, in Baton Rouge, gets involved next. I just want to take one short moment and give props to the CAC because without agencies like this, we would be lost as a community when it comes to children facing traumatic situations. Without a CAC, the child may end up having to tell the worst story of his or her life over and over again to doctors, police, lawyers, therapists, investigators, judges, and others, and may not get the help they need to heal once the investigation is over and the case fully adjudicated. So, their work is vital with regard to the future of the child. Lyntell's 3-year-old is placed in an environment where she can feel safe. A trained psychologist sits down with her and begins to interview the child about what happened. A 3-year-old can guide you through things if she feels safe. It's very hard for me to believe that a child of that age could make up things when asked about such serious matters simply because the child doesn't know this type of information or would not have any context to pull it from. They could obviously be coached about what to say, but it's very unlikely detectives in this case know that is what is going on here. So they hit record and they begin to speak to the child. "Can you tell us what happened to Mommy?" they ask. "Mr. Robbie," the child says, "put blood in Mommy's car." "Where is Mommy?" "I saw Mommy get hurt." "And who hurt Mommy?" "Mr. Robbie." "So Mr. Robbie hurt your mommy?" "Yes." It's not a stretch for detectives to believe that Mr. Robbie is what the child called Robert Marks, the assistant principal and father of Lyntell's unborn child. As that Saturday and Sunday come to pass, a search warrant detectives had applied for on Friday to conduct a more thorough and forensic search through Mark's phone comes back stamped with approval from a judge. As they begin going through the phone, several alarming and incriminating signs emerge. For one, Google searches Mr. Robbie Marks had conducted. The words "pregnant shot" followed by several websites indicating that Marks was looking to buy a rifle. That's some scary shite right there. Back on May 28th, Marks Googled injection of Clorox and what would happen if you injected bleach into your system. The next day, he searched for failure to appear for paternity test and I missed my court date for paternity tests for child support. Can they order me to pay? Child does not have my last name. If you were to look at those searches in relation to what is going on inside Mark's feeble brain, what we would have to conclude is that he is a cold son of a bitch. Imagine, here he is thinking about injecting his pregnant mistress and unborn child with bleach. And his only concern is how much money it is going to cost him if paternity is proven. That's one callous bastard right there. One who is, detectives certainly understand at this point, capable of murder. Yet the most impending part of their case right now is not arresting Marks on murder charges, but finding Lyntell's body. Without her body, it is going to be hard to make a case for murder against him. It can be done, as we have discussed in the past on the show, but it is no easy task for prosecutors. Investigators then sit down and go through Mark's interview back on June 9th, after the 3-year-old was found wandering around that parking lot. They want to see if they maybe missed anything. He had said a few things they now find interesting. Before, that is, he decided to lawyer up. I saw her the previous night, he admitted, meaning June 8th, that Wednesday. We were at the Walmart in Baker, where we talked, and then I left. Where did you go? They asked him. I went to Twin Peaks Restaurant. That is an important statement. They know now that he was lying when he said it, because they pulled the CCTV from the restaurant for the entire day and night, went through it, and he had never stepped foot in the place. So now they know he is a liar. And why lie about such a thing if you had nothing to hide? One-off murderers always trip themselves up on the most basic things. The fact of the matter is, nobody can remember everything. Impossible. He'd have been better off saying nothing. But a guy like that cannot help himself. And so what does he do? He lies. As they continue going through the cell phone data, a new picture becomes abundantly clear. Yes, they met at the Walmart parking lot on that night, June 8th, as Marks had told them. But the cell phone data shows that Marks got into Lyntell's vehicle and they rode off together. This was at about 8:20 p.m., which they can pinpoint exactly from the data they'd retrieve from both cell phones. The phones show that they then drove to the Scotlandville area of Baton Rouge, which is near the Metropolitan Airport, closer to the river just west of Zion City. They sat there for a short while. Then the data shows both phones, Lyntell's and Mark's, traveling over the Mississippi River along the old Mississippi River Bridge, and from there they drive into Iberville Parish and into the Ramah area, which is in between Baton Rouge and Lafayette. Now, what is interesting, and I should say revealing, is that both phones then begin traveling back towards Baton Rouge after a short time. But Lyntell's phone stops registering location data right near an area by the LSU Lakes, which is where, my guess would be, Marks tossed her phone into the water. Of course, he didn't think they could retrieve the phone data from the cloud because why? He's stupid. He's ignorant. They don't need the damn phone to retrieve the data. Then, according to the data on Mark's phone, he makes a call near 11:30 p.m. from that Newcastle Sherwood Forest area where it all started when Lyntell's child was found wandering through the parking lot. My guess is this was when Parks dropped off her vehicle after killing her and dumping her body. Based on what the 3-year-old told the CAC, one might draw the conclusion that after Marks got rid of Lyntell's body, he then drove her 3-year-old, who was clearly with him and her mother during that entire trip, back home and left the child to fend for herself inside the car in the parking lot. When the child stepped out of the vehicle and began wandering around, that was when the child got her feet soaked with her mother's blood. What a class act this guy is. He leaves a child inside a car soaked with her mother's blood. They know he called someone at 11:30 p.m. from an area near that parking lot. And speaking with that person, Marks told them he'd been hanging out with friends and they had left him. He needed a ride. So this woman then went out and picked him up on the corner near that same apartment building. When she got there, he was wearing a dark leather jacket, jeans, boots, gloves, and a helmet. "I left my motorcycle," he says, getting into the vehicle, "over by the Walmart." So she drives him over there and drops him off. Investigators then get some rather interesting information. And again, I don't know why these guys do it, but in retrospect, I guess they're kind of blind when it comes to crime and murder. The dude calls his sister from the jail where they have him locked up on June 8th, after he is arrested for abandoning the child. And Marks tells his sister over a phone line he has to know they are listening in on. Quote, "I need you to go and erase my iPad and my Apple Watch." Smart. I guess you can be an idiot and also be a vice principal. Those two things can be true at the same time, at least in this case. And look, I mean no disrespect to principals out there, but this guy is very dumb. I do not know how he managed to run a school. Several more days go by, and boom, detectives catch the break they need. A caller phones in that they have discovered the deceased body of a pregnant female in a drainage ditch at the edge of a sugarcane field off of Rosedale Road, in the area of Grosse Tete, a small village in the Iberville Parish region, about 30 miles west of Baton Rouge, an area they can track Mark's phone directly to. I need to take our second break. Be right back with more Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps. Lyntell Washington began dating Robert Marks when Lyntell started working at Brookstone in 2016, and the two met. They kept the relationship secret, obviously, because Marks was a married man. Marks had given Lyntell that tired story of, "I am going through a divorce, but we have chosen to live in the same home until the divorce is finalized." My female listeners out there in the dating pool, please run from a guy who tells you this. Because 9 out of 10 times, it's rubbish. He's playing you the same way that Marks was playing Lyntell. The facade came crashing down when Lyntell learned that Marks and his wife had gone on a cruise together. Then she learned there was, in fact, no impending divorce. It was Marks lying through his teeth. That was the moment when Lyntell felt cheated and scorned. And why wouldn't she? She believed the guy was divorcing his wife. Marks had even told her that they lived in a 2-level, 2-family home, and he lived on one floor and his soon-to-be ex on the other, and they never saw each other. So when she found herself pregnant with his child and realized he had no intention of divorcing his wife or taking care of his child, she threatened to tell the wife everything. And that was the straw that broke this guy. It made him turn towards murder as an option to all of his problems. How he thought he would get away with this, I cannot tell you. Only that in his little mind, he had conceived this fantasy that all he had to do was kill Lyntell, dump her body far enough from town, go on with his life, and everything would work out for him. Lyntell's friends and family, obviously, when they hear her body has been found, are devastated. One friend says something I found to be rather common in these cases, that she had a hard time processing the notion that Lyntell had been found dead. It's like a dream, really, a bad one. One of those vivid dreams where you wake up and you have this sense that it was real, like a chilling memory. You have no information inside your brain to compare such news to. It's also foreign. Dead? No way. I was just with her the other day. This cannot be true. I feel for victims' friends and family when they are forced into this situation because it's so traumatizing and can come up on you throughout the rest of your life. I don't think we talk enough about this post-traumatic aspect of a murder case in the true crime space enough. How much this stuff gets into your system and can reemerge in your life at various times. That ripple effect I always mention just keeps going and going. And then there's the 3-year-old child and Lyntell's unborn baby. Anyway, in an interview with ABC News, one of the investigators with the DA's office involved in this case put things into a clear perspective when he said this. You hear the little girl in her own voice saying, "Mr. Robbie put the blood in my car. I heard a bang. My mama started shaking. My mama's asleep by a lake." And that kind of thing changes you forever. This monster killed the girl's mother right in front of the child. He scarred the young girl for life. Lyntell Washington and her unborn child died from a gunshot wound to the head, the coroner reveals after the autopsy. They have Mark's DNA from his arrest. So they do the paternity test and prove the baby was his. The guy kills his mistress and his baby by shooting the mother of his child in the head. A frickin' monster. Blood spatter experts go through the vehicle and determine that Lyntell was likely not killed inside the car. Remember I mentioned that someone had picked Marks up that night at 11:30 on the corner of the street near the apartment building? And she gave him a ride to the Walmart so he could grab his motorcycle and head home? That person was Mark's other mistress. He had 2 that we know of. The other mistress had come forward after seeing reports in the news about the case, and she tells investigators what went down that night. Now they have the guy nailed. Let's take one more short break, come back, and conclude this incredibly tragic case. Lyntell Washington gave back. She taught our children. She cared about our children. She made the community she lived in a better place for everyone. Robert Marks, who put up the ghostly image of a man doing the same thing as an assistant principal, took all of that away from the world. Teachers should be praised. They choose the path of educating our children because they are passionate about the job and children. Certainly not the money. And what do? We turn around and we grossly underpay them and make them buy their own supplies. What an upside-down world we live in. I like it when Lady Justice comes to the party and she puts a nice bow on things. Gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling another scumbag got what he deserved. Robert Marks' defense lawyer had the audacity to argue that the evidence against his client was circumstantial. And yet he doesn't call one witness or even offer a closing argument on Marks' behalf. The frickin' arrogance. I guess he thought a good strategy was to flip the bird to the jury and diss them. In December 2021, that jury convicted Marks. They deliberated less than an hour, 30 frickin' minutes to be exact, clearly sending the guy a direct message. Consider the bird flipped back. Marks was then sentenced to life in prison without parole. He appealed because that is what they all do. That appeal was denied. He will rot in prison for the rest of his life, as it should be. Lyntell's 3-year-old has her father, and he is making sure she never forgets her mother. That child was the key to convicting Marks. The prosecution played the tape of her CAC interview during the trial. In many ways, the child solved her mother's murder. That's it for this week. Be back here next week with a brand new case. Be safe, be aware. Sources for this episode include the state of Louisiana, First Circuit versus Robert Jovanite Marks, May 17th, 2023. In trial against accused killer, victim's child gives bone-chilling interview. WBRZ News by Chris Nagamato, December 15th, 2021. ABC News reports of the case from 2016, 2023, 2026. Crossing the Line is executive produced by M. William Phelps, LLC, and Matthew Valentinus, Mom's Basement Management. Written by me, M. William Phelps. Audio mastering and mixing by Matt Russell. Music by Epidemic Sound. Original music written and performed by Thomas Mooney, Tom Phelps, and Matt Russell.